Did you know that time travel is actually possible? You've technically done it in your life already, although it's a little bit more complicated than that. It's kind of like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey-wimey stuff. Don't say it.
Why?
Doctor Who fans, man. They go crazy in the comments.
Oh.
Hey guys, Vixolent here. Now, the idea of time travel has been around for ages, influencing a lot of our fiction writings, and even one of my favourite television series, Doctor Who. But the crazy thing is that time travel is actually possible, scientifically. And you've already time travelled, although you may not have noticed it at the time, but we will get back to that. So, let's say you steal a time machine, or, well, borrow a time machine, because you can always just drop it off right back before you even borrowed it to begin with. So you have a time machine, what do you go off and do? Before you head off though, there are a couple things you might want to keep in mind, namely paradoxes. The first and possibly most famous paradox is the grandfather paradox. And that is to say, you go back in time and kill your grandfather before he had time to meet your grandmother. Now that would be a very horrible thing to do, especially for someone that doesn't exist, such as yourself. As your grandfather never met your grandmother, had kids that led up to you being born, in order to go back and kill him, you were never actually born in order to go back and kill him. So that leads to a paradox. And as such, another element to keep in mind is the butterfly effect. Any changes you make in the past affect the future. And the longer you go back in time and make those changes, the longer those changes have to cause an influence. So let's say you go back in time only just a few years and find the first person you meet and say, "Hello, have a good day." Get back in your time machine and leave. Say that person was on his way to Starbucks to get a pumpkin spice latte. And as he walks in, someone cuts him off in line, so now he's behind someone. That 2-second delay that you caused is now a few minutes delay waiting for his drink. At that point in time, two people are affected by your hello. The person who is late, and now a person who is early. You can continue with this logic until maybe he misses a bus or a pedestrian crossing. Until maybe someone somewhere is a few steps forward ahead of where they were meant to be, and it doesn't have to be all doom and gloom, but those effects could propagate out, leading up to you, for some reason, not deciding to go back in time, and that causes a paradox. Just as long as the events of the past do lead up to someone going back in time to create those events, we're all good. That's called a causal loop. Let's say you get visited by you from the future, telling you the winning lottery numbers to the $1.5 billion jackpot. So the next day you go out and buy a lottery ticket, and what do you know? You win $1.5 billion and buy yourself a time machine. At some point in your life, you need to remember to go back in time and tell yourself the winning lottery numbers. Because if you don't, you will lose all your money, and you won't exist. Time will kind of start off from where you would have heard the numbers and just continue on. That is, of course, excluding that multiverse theory where time travel creates multiple. That's for a different time. But now that you have a basic understanding of the dangers of time travel, let's talk about how you can actually achieve it. And in fact, there are two ways. The first comes from a weird effect of relativity and the physics of our universe, and that is time dilation. Now, the physics for this are very long and complicated, but the basic idea is that the faster you travel in space, the slower your experience of time becomes to an outside observer. So, that means that if you were to get a spaceship that travels near the speed of light, and leave Earth right now in 2016 with an onboard calendar, if you were to travel for 2 years and return, your calendar would read 2018. You would have aged 2 years, but it would have been 30 years on Earth since you left, and you would be arriving back in 2046. Yeah. But, of course, it's impossible to travel at the speed of light, and to get anywhere near there would require almost all of the energy in the universe. But that's okay, because there's another way that we can time travel, and that is gravitational time dilation. And basically it's the same effect of your time slowing down, only this time it happens when you are near a source of gravity. That could be the moon, that could be the Earth, it could be a black hole called Gargantua. You may have seen the movie Interstellar, and in that movie they land on a planet that is orbiting a black hole they call Gargantua. On that planet, they say that 1 hour there is 7 years back at home. So that means if you were to go there right now, in 2016, and just spend 1 day and then leave, when you get back, 168 years would have passed, and you would be arriving back in 2184. And that's not to mention if you were to spend 2 years there like we did in our last experiment. When you come back, 122,640 years would have passed. And this is something that is happening right now all over the universe. Planets closer to the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy are experiencing time at a different rate that we do. Your head and your feet are experiencing time differently. Knowing these effects, we've had to adjust the clocks on our satellites that are orbiting Earth. Otherwise, the calculations in our GPS and communications would be way off and it wouldn't work. Currently, there is a record for the best time traveler, you could say, and that goes to a cosmonaut called Sergei. Overall, he spent 747 days in space. Traveling at those speeds, it is said that he is 30 milliseconds behind the rest of us, and that's not that much, but he did that without even trying. So far though, there was no way to go backwards in time. That's why Arthur called it the arrow of time, as if it only goes forward. Einstein even referred to it as the river of time. It can speed up and slow down at points, but still always going in the same direction. But if that day ever does come, and you get visited by yourself from the future telling you to subscribe to Vixolent, just remember, it is now your obligation to go back in time and deliver that message onto yourself. Nonetheless guys, thanks for watching. Like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. My name's Vixolent, and I will see you next time. Don't say it. Now, today, and as you're watching this video right now, 100 tons of rock, dust, and particles will burn up in the Earth's atmosphere from out of space. That's 100 tons of matter burning up in the Earth's atmosphere.